Thanks.
Welcome, everyone. We are excited that you're all here. Matt, thank you for being here.
Pleasure. Thanks.
I'm Bobby Thomson with Visa. I lead our government relations office. And on behalf of Visa, just want to let you know how excited we are to partner with The Atlantic to bring you the Commerce 2.0 series. Just a bit of background. We started this series in November looking at the Internet of Everything and kind of tackling how innovation and technology are transforming the commercial environment. Today, we're continuing that with a discussion on the future of retail. And we've got some really terrific panelists throughout the day, so we're pleased that everybody could participate. And then just to give you a little bit of a flash forward, in April, we're going to be doing a look at Commerce 2.0, but from the lens of the global landscape. So come back in April and be with us then too. But Matt, so I'm grateful for that you're here. Matt, as many of you know, is the president and CEO of the National Retail Federation. He's also a personal friend and colleague, so I'm happy to have you on the hot seat here.
Yeah, thank you.
And there's really nobody better to give us a sense of what's going on in retail today. Just by way of background as well, the NRF is the largest retail trade association in the United States, representing all sizes of retail outlets. So Matt, I thought I might start with you just in terms of, give us the untold story of retail. I mean, there's a lot that's been written about the disruptive forces that are shaping your industry, but why don't you give us sort of the real version of what's going on and sort of what the future of retail looks like for 2018.
I hate to start with the Bill Clinton comment from years ago when he stood there and said, "I'm still relevant." But I'm tempted to say retail is not dead, and because you hear these setups to conversations and intros and people talk about things, and there are 1.7 million retail establishments in the United States by count of the U.S. Department of Commerce, Census Department. So let's say 9,000 of those closed last year. Let's say twice that number closed this year. We're talking about 1/2 of 1%, not even 1%. So I think we need a little context. Now, for those companies that go out of business, and there are some, for them that is an existential issue. If you look at 2016, the top 10, the top 20 bankruptcies in the United States, 0 were retail companies. If you look at 2017, 1 was a retail company, and that was Toys R Us, and that was the last of the pre-recession, big money, overvalued 2006 deals that probably shouldn't have happened in the first place. So, this is a very healthy industry. You're going to hear from these entrepreneurs later this morning. We had an enormously successful holiday season. We'll be releasing those results tomorrow. So we're going to get that info from Commerce, and we'll release tomorrow. Our forecast was 3.6 to 4% for the holiday season. The day after Thanksgiving, I think I started hedging on the high side, saying we're probably going to be above our forecast. It was that good. So consumers are in a great place. Retailers are in a very good place. For those of you that are looking at your phones as you sit here, you may have just seen the news that Walmart announced a few minutes ago that they're raising all their starting salaries, they're giving cash bonuses, they're adding maternity leave, they're investing in training. Walmart is a leader. They're the largest employer in the retail industry. But where Walmart goes, other retailers are going to go and always do eventually. So this is not the behavior of either an individual company or an industry that is in extremis. This is the behavior of a company and an industry that's very, very healthy. And there's a lot of disruption going on, but that creates lots of opportunities as well for growth.
That's great. Well, let's talk about some of the disruptive trends. Just by way of a question to the audience, anybody in the last 5 minutes make an online purchase here? I'm sure somebody did. And make a Starbucks
hopefully with your Visa card, I think is what Bobby. Okay. That's what Bobby meant.
Yes, we'll talk to you later. But talk about this convergence.
You didn't hit the door.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The convergence of sort of the physical and online world, because a lot is made that everything's migrating online, but what in reality you see physical merchants actually leveraging online channels to service consumers in new and different ways. Talk about the trends that you're seeing in terms of your members and some of these convergence.
And vice versa, right? You're seeing the online merchants get into physical spaces. So I think if we roll the clock back to 1998, let's go back 20 years ago, and think of, since college football is over, but it's still professional football. So let's make this a football game or a soccer game. The retail game was being played in the 2 end zones. There were the bricks and mortar retailers, and there were the online retailers. That's the way the game got played. And that's the way consumers played. I either want an online channel or I want a stores channel. Today, the game is being played at the 50-yard line, or at least between the 40s. That's where everyone is. The big box retailers and bricks and mortar retailers are investing in e-commerce. And the digital players, the online players, are investing in stores. So you see people like Michael Praisman, who's the founder of a company called Everlane, who said, was one of the most vocal, most outspoken, essentially over my dead body will we ever build stores. You know what, they're building stores now. I said, well, you know what, oops, didn't mean it. Our customers actually like stores, stores make sense. They're building stores. Katya will be out here in a minute from Birchbox. She's got stores. Warby Parker's got stores. You know, I think the two bookends to the story are August of 16, Walmart announces they're going to pay $3.3 billion to buy Jet. Founder of Jet, Mark Laurie, started soap.com and diapers.com, and Quidsi sold it to Amazon. So he's a digital native, and they buy his company. And then earlier this year, we had Amazon buy Whole Foods. And those are the bookends to the story, because consumers, all of you, everybody in this room, you're channel agnostic. You don't think anymore about, that's a store, that's a newspaper ad I saw, that's on my desktop, this is on my phone. You think about, I want a retail experience. I want a product. I want something, I want a brand. You don't think about the channels. You're totally agnostic. And retailers are getting there too. And so I think some of the construct of the story over the course of the last year has almost been, well, it's bricks and mortar versus e-commerce. And those are both parts of retail. They're just channels. And if you think about the largest e-commerce platforms, the top 10 e-commerce platforms, the largest platforms by gross volume of sales, 7 out of the top 10 are operated by bricks and mortar retailers. 21 of the top 25 are operated by bricks and mortar retailers. So big retailers are going to be big in all channels. And I think, you know, if I could dispel one notion for everybody here, it's that there's a difference between retail and online. Retail and online are the same thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned the holiday shopping season. Let's come back to that. By all accounts, any reports you look at, it was one of the most successful holiday seasons we've had at least the last half dozen or more years. You know, you're going to release your numbers tomorrow, but can you give us any maybe previews or hints of, you know, some of the big trends, and then are there any things emerging again in that omni-commerce space where you're seeing the combination of sales growing because merchants are able to bridge the divide between physical and online?
I think that in terms of trends over the holidays, we know that everyone is being disrupted and they're disrupting themselves, because if you don't constantly, and it's hard to do that, it's easy to be, you know, sort of the Clayton Christensen innovator's dilemma. I mean, why would I change things if everything's going well? But you have to do that, and that's sort of a new age digital sort of approach to things. But you've got to disrupt yourself constantly, because you know someone will come along and disrupt you if you don't. I think what we saw a lot of retailers doing, and this is maybe, I'll give you something that's visible and then something that's not visible. What's visible is you're seeing what is being termed as retailtainment, that you go to a physical store and it's more than just pulling something off a shelf and purchasing it. There's a whole series of experiences that go along with that, that enhance the experience, that make it more interesting. That happens on individual stores, that happens in malls, in shopping centers. We didn't talk about that. You know, I think you could compartmentalize and say there's no retail problem. There might be a C&D mall problem, because some of those C&D malls go away, but that's a real estate issue. That's not a retail issue. I think the thing that's going on behind the scenes that sort of got touched on a little bit in the previous session, we're going to talk about it at our convention and in great detail this coming weekend. The behind the scenes is the artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics. You know, you see the augmented and the virtual reality in the stores. That would be part of the retailtainment. But behind the scenes, a lot of these applications, I was on the phone with a McKinsey partner who's going to present at a board meeting on Saturday. A lot of this is deployable now. This is being used by retail companies every single day, and it's accelerating. And I think that just as for retail companies, you've got a limited amount of capital expenditure in your budget each year. Are you going to invest that in improving stores? Are you going to invest that in e-commerce? Are you going to invest that in marketing? Are you going to invest that in your people? Now you've got to add, are we going to invest it in AI, machine learning? Where those dollars are finite, and so where are you going to put them? And I think that's something that's really going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah. So just to pivot forward, so Matt referenced this, but next week, so actually you're leaving today to go to New York for the Interactive Big Show, which is the world's largest.
I'm dressed like a banker. You are a banker.
We swapped roles today. But the conference is going to tackle all kinds of interesting issues. Visa's CEO, Al Kelly, will be there. And you know, for Visa, we really are thinking a lot about enabling retail, enabling businesses to take advantage of the new commerce experience through more secure, convenient payment methods. And you saw a few of them out front, augmented reality, visual reality, wearables, any number of ways. We're thinking about how do you make the consumer shopping experience secure, convenient, and seamless. And so if you think about Visa just as a network, we have over 40 million merchant partners, 3.5 billion card holders, and over 16,500 financial institutions in 200 countries globally. So the power of the network is great. And we're thinking a lot about how do you leverage that innovation and that technology to fuel commerce in the next generation. So we're especially pleased to be part of your session up in New York.
Glad
But
to
maybe
be there.
just give us some thoughts about what are the highlights that you expect to cover in New York?
So we'll have 35,000 people at this event. It's our largest, 35, maybe closer to 40. But a very good turnout. We'll have 3,500 different retail companies represented, delegations from 90 countries around the world, 700 members of the press. I mean, it is the global gathering for the retail industry. We'll spend a lot of time talking about innovation and various solutions, AI and VR and AR and drones and payments and point of sale and so there's a whole exhibit side, there's a whole content side. We're glad that Al is going to be there. Doug McMillon of Walmart is going to be one of the keynotes. Hubert Joly of Best Buy will be there. Marvin Ellison of JCPenney. Ariana Huffington is coming. Beth Comstock of GE, formerly of GE. So it's a great lineup and fascinating entrepreneurs who will be there telling the stories. Some of the folks that are on the program today that you've got will be there and represented. So it's going to be an exciting couple of days, and we're delighted that you'll be part of it and big partners and supporters.
Right. Well, if any of you are in New York over the weekend, early next week, please
come
stop
see
by.
us.
But on behalf of Visa, we're just really pleased to be part of this discussion on the future of retail. We really think about how we can enable this. So Matt, thank you for being here today.
Pleasure.
Thanks for your insights. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Okay.